Hello, everyone. Thank you for waiting patiently for that minute. I was trying to get set up here. So welcome to our free Wednesday night class. And this is through Body Positive Works. And we are in Saddle River. And we are basically a center for healing Eastern and Western approaches. We have meditation, mindfulness, we have yoga, Reiki, all kinds of different things, along with just Western therapy and Western modalities as well. So I hope that you'll check us out. It's bodypositiveworks.com. And today, we're going to continue on with our conversation about meditation and mindfulness. So I want to start by reviewing the last two classes. And while I'm reviewing the last two classes, I really encourage you to hop on the chat, say hello, ask questions, engage with the content. I taught a class yesterday and I encouraged questions, and the whole class was answering one question. And what I love about that is that it's very personal, it's very intimate, and it's personalized to the people that are here today. So you 4 people out there listening, I want to hear from you. I want to know what's on your mind. I want to know the questions that you have about practice. So please don't hesitate to write in this chat now at any point during this short class. So thank you. Hello. And again, especially if you have questions, this is a free session for you guys, and you're talking with somebody that has had 20 years of experience really dedicating my entire life to this practice. So please ask away and pick my brain. And I want to make sure that I'm giving you the most that I can in these sessions, which, by the way, there's one more. I'm not sure how it was promoted. We were supposed to have 4. So today is the 3rd one, and we're going to have one more next week. I'm glad they've been thought-provoking. I always like to make everyone a little bit uncomfortable, right? And not in a bad way, but I want to make you reflect. I want to make you contemplate and look at things differently. That curiosity, that beginner's mind, that's what this practice is all about. And that's how we attain freedom or find freedom in our lives from our suffering, by being curious, by being willing to look, willing to feel, willing to question everything, really, and really go into that. So let me quickly just go through the past 2 sessions, and then I'll go to what I said I was going to talk about this session, and we'll do a little, short practice. So the first session was just really talking about meditation, mindfulness, and how it's not just let me sit down for 5 minutes and breathe once a day. It's really, how do I relate to my life moment by moment? That's our practice. And that's your whole life, right? And sounds like a big to-do. Oh my God, I got to do this for the rest of my life. Pay attention. It sounds like a lot. But the truth of the matter is that this is it. And I think we might have talked about that last week. This moment, here now, this is all we have. Yesterday's gone. 20 years ago is finished. Never coming back. 5 minutes ago, gone. The beginning of this class, gone. Tomorrow, uncertain. Tonight, uncertain. 5-10 years from now, uncertain. So everything that is not this moment is just a dream in your mind, right? Because where is 10 years ago? If we look around, I don't see it. I can't find it. The only way we can access that is in the mind. And it's no different than a dream. It's basically a waking dream when we think all day in our heads, and we just get involved with it, and it seems so real, and we miss our lives. And that's kind of what we were going over, is that we miss our lives. We get caught in the content of our thoughts and our feelings. We create a whole storyline about ourselves, And, what I call it is me world. We get caught all day in me world. And what is that? Self-centered thinking. And all of our thoughts, for the most part, have to do with me. And I want you to try to start noticing that. It's all about me. It's like you see somebody you don't like. Why don't you like them? Because there's a person there that, there is a thought that says, I don't like this. That person makes me feel uncomfortable or unpleasant. I don't like that they did this 5 years ago, right? So we're not actually present with our lives. We're caught in me world. We're experiencing our life through the filter of that self-centered thinking. Now, we're not trying to get rid of self-centered thinking. We need it, right? I'm Mark, and I have a life, and I'm an individual that needs to function in this world. So we have to be able to use our thoughts, our feelings, and honor them, but without getting so imprisoned by them and without limiting our life every single moment to the thinking mind, right? There's another way to live. That's what meditation offers. That's what mindfulness is. It's just another way to experience our lives. And I don't know about you guys, but, times are tough. Things are very stressful. Maybe many of you out there are dealing with anxiety or depression. Maybe you're dealing with loss, experienced a loss recently, or just at any point, and it's still very painful and difficult. Maybe you have an addiction that you're struggling with. We all are suffering to some degree, and we all have patterns and habits that have formed over the years, mostly in childhood, but we get some new neurotic ones as we get older too. And we've been just living our lives unconsciously, habitually, just a conditioned reaction to life every single day. And meditation can wake us up from that. And meditation doesn't fix everything. It's not some magic pill. You're not going to be happy all the time. We talked about that too. That's just not in line with reality. Everything changes and ends. You can't be happy all the time. So don't think if you're not happy, you're screwed up or your life's bad or you need to do all this, therapy or read all these self-help books. You don't. Sometimes you just feel bad. Sometimes life is hard and you just go through a dark time or what they call, a dark night of the soul. Sometimes you wake up and you feel sad. Sometimes you're depressed. Sometimes you're anxious. Sometimes you're worried. There's a poet, I think his name is, I want to say Terrence. I could be totally wrong. But he says, nothing human is alien to me. And that's what we're trying to accomplish with meditation, to get to know every part of ourselves so that we can learn to find our balance within that and to live a life that's maybe a little more wise, a little wiser, a little more compassionate, a little more kind, a little more open, a little more free than before. And it's possible. And we went over that too. Just being able to pause, right? Hand to the heart, close the eyes, pause, and just notice how things are without judging, without an expectation, without a storyline, without that filter of me world. Just experience the moment from that place of awareness. And that was the place of refuge. Remember, we said, don't make your home in changing conditions. Well, what's the only unchanging condition that we experience? Well, awareness, the witness of experience, that which knows, right? If we were to pause and you paid attention to what was going on in your mind, it's that which knows what's happening in your mind. That's awareness. That's mindfulness. That's whatever you want to call it, consciousness. That's our place of freedom. As soon as I'm present in awareness and recognizing what's arising in my body and mind, I'm already free from it, right? Because it's when we don't pay attention, when whatever arises becomes who we are. When the worry arises and we're not paying attention, we become a worried person. Those worried thoughts become who we are, and we limit our life to that. It doesn't have to be that way, right? And it's simple. If I'm aware, if I'm being mindful in that moment, then I recognize worry is arising in my mind. Oh, Those are just the conditions of my mind in that moment. I don't need to make it a problem. I don't need to say I'm a worrier, what's wrong with me? I don't need to try to make it go away because I have the wisdom that everything changes and ends. And I've seen that for myself by observing my mind, by observing my moods, by observing my emotions, that everything comes and goes so I can relax, right? And that's the big thing about meditation. And, I came up with an acronym called VIP, which basically those three letters are the only three things I teach, right? Views, intentions, and practices. Right view, everything changes and ends. Life is painful sometimes. Things don't always go according to plan. We age, right? We're subject to sickness and illness. We all will die. We all will lose everything we love and everything we enjoy. We can't hold on to anything, right? That's part of right view. If you don't have right view, then you don't live in accordance with that truth, and you add unnecessary stress and suffering to your life. But with meditation, you start to see clearly, what is it that's true in this life? Oh, this is what's true. Okay, now can I live in line with what I'm seeing to be true, so I cause less harm for myself, so I cause less harm for the people around me, and not necessarily harm, I'm going to attack somebody, but how we speak to people. Is it wholesome? Is it skillful? Is it kind? Or is it hurtful? Is it unskillful? Is it unwholesome? Are we planting more seeds for, future suffering? So again, these are very short, free classes, and I want to try to give you the whole dimension, right? So we have views. Intentions is what we were going to talk about today. How do I meet my life? Like, okay, so now I know what's true. How do I meet that? How do I live that every single moment? And then the P is the actual practices. So we've talked about the 3-part practice. We've talked about the pause practice. We've done just some meditations. We talked about ARC last week, awareness, relaxation, kindness. We did a practice with that. So there's always practices to support the views and the intentions. And that's why it's such a complete practice, because it has everything that we need to start meeting our lives from a different space and planting more wholesome and skillful seeds for our future moments of our life. So the intentions are really important, and they're really simple. Like there's tons of commitments and vows you can take. I think when you join like the monastic, order, there can be like 100 different vows that you have to take and you have to maintain. But for me, I'm a secular lay person. I'm not a monk. So I try to live by these 3 intentions. So how do we bring the practice off of our cushion, off of the chair, off of the sitting for 10 to 20 minutes a day, and into the rest of our lives? So the first intention is to understand that everything in our lives is our practice. Everything. Not just the fun stuff, not just the pleasant stuff, not just the compassion and the happiness, but the messed up parts too, the painful parts, the grief, the sorrow, the jealousy, the frustration, the envy, the fill in the blank, all of it. And we are willing to face our lives, whether we like what's happening or not. We're willing to face it. We're willing to work with it. We're willing to use everything as a means to practice. We're willing to use everything, every ingredient as fertilizer for awakening, right? A fertilizer for cultivating our mind in a wholesome direction, to get wiser, to become more compassionate and empathic, to be a little more kind, to be a little softer, to have a little more freedom. And the conditions we have right now are enough for that. We don't have to make things better first, right? And if you think of the lotus flower tends to be like the symbol for this practice. Why? because a lotus flower blossoms in the middle of mucky, disgusting, not necessarily clear and clean water. It's not like we need to get rid of the mud, check the pH balance, put some chlorine in, like get it to be perfectly clear and clean, and then the flower grows, right? But that's what we try to do with our lives. Let's just fix everything. And then I can be at ease. Then there's joy. Then there's peace. Then there's compassion. But until then, I need to work really hard to fix all this. It's the wrong approach. And I can't, I have not really stopped meeting people that, I'm not saying that right. Let me rephrase it. Most everyone that I'm meeting is coming from a place where they want to fix something. They want to get rid of something. I'm depressed and anxious. I just want to do this practice so I feel better. And that there's nothing wrong with coming to the practice for that reason. That's what brings us here. But at some point, there's a maturing that happens. And you start to recognize, wait, I've tried everything. You know, I just was speaking with someone yesterday. It's like, I've tried everything. It's like we change our diet. We go to this therapist. We start working out. We do yoga. We read this recommended book. Yet I keep waking up depressed, or I keep feeling anxious every day, or I keep worrying. And that's actually a really important insight to have, because you're finally recognizing that, hey, maybe this is just something I have to experience. Maybe this is just part of my experience, possibly for the rest of my life. And there has to be this sense of what I call hopelessness. I know it sounds terrible, but this hopelessness is like a beneficial hopelessness where you finally give up trying to have a different life. And you finally show up for your actual life. And when you come to that place of hopelessness, and I'm not meaning despair and suicide, that's not what I'm talking about, but just that giving up of the grass is greener somewhere else, right? The giving up of, if only I had that, or I need to do this first. Once you finally give up on that, and that can take a long time, a lot of chasing after things before you finally get exhausted and say, man, I can't do this anymore. But then you get to a place where you say, okay, well, this is how it is. And then you shift from struggling and fighting and resisting and trying to fix and change everything and control everything to, all right, let me look at this. This is workable, right? Things come and go. Sometimes they're unpleasant, but I can work with this. And that's like the first moment of ease when you finally realize, oh, like I can just be with this. And it's so radical. It's so simple, so obvious, right? Such a simple, obvious thing. Feel something, just feel it, right? You have a thought, just experience it and let it arise and fall away. But it's the last thing we want to do. And that's how we train ourselves in meditation, right? We sit and we learn however it is, there's room for it. Whatever I feel, I can experience it. And the world won't fall apart. That these emotions and thoughts, are just sounds and feelings that can't actually harm me in any way. They can make me feel bad, right? How I react to them can harm me. But the feelings and thoughts themselves can't do anything except make some noise in your mind and do some crazy sensations in your body. So that first intention is saying, okay, I only have this moment. It's going to show up the way it's going to show up. How can I use this moment to benefit my practice, to benefit the state of my mind, to work with my mind? How can I use everything that life brings to me as a way to practice? Right? Because then everything has meaning, even the painful things. You can use the painful things to connect with all of humanity, all the other human beings that have either gone through what you're going through, are currently going what you're going through, or will at some point go through what you're going through, and that can open your heart. And then real compassion comes out because you know that place and you know how difficult and painful it is. Then when you see it with other people, it's like, my God, I know that place. I want to help. It's not fake compassion. You're not walking around with a fake smile. I love everyone. Let me wear all white and change my name to Marka Bandhu or something. You don't have to go to these extremes. It's not like that. It's just when you start softening into yourself and seeing the pain of your life and seeing the ways that you get caught up in your own stuff and how difficult it is, it really just opens your heart to it. It's like you go to a different depth. And you just really can meet people where they are and not judge them. And it's just a whole different experience. So everything in your life is your practice, and being willing to open to everything. So that's kind of the first intention. I'm willing to face my life. I'm willing to use it all as practice. And I'm going to do my best to open to everything and to really recognize what Mark's talking about. However it is, there's room for it. And again, that's a simple pause. At any moment of your life, no matter how painful or great it is, you can pause and you can recognize that it feels like this, right? Anxiety feels like this. It's okay. Let me feel this, right? Oh, there's a tightness in my chest. And, oh, look at all those self-destructive thoughts. And, oh, my heart's beating pretty rapidly right now. And, wow, it's a little harder to breathe. Look at that. And that curiosity is very freeing. And to not become an anxious person, but to just, oh, look at that. Anxiety's arising. There's a squeezing in my chest again. Wow, this visit's often. What are you trying to tell me? Maybe we just need to listen, right? And sometimes with our habitual emotions and patterns, you just need to show up. I try to treat the emotions like little children. So all of your inner demons, all of your difficult emotions and feelings and thoughts, if you imagine them like little children, how are you treating those children? And that can be such an eye-opening insight. It's like, my God, I've been ignoring them. I've been telling them to go away. I've been telling them, that I'm going to go to therapy to get rid of them. I've been trying to distract myself. And it's like, wow, like these are, and a lot of times they are childish parts of ourselves, or, like parts from when we were young and what we did experience. And yet we deny them and we turn away from them and we ignore them and we suppress them. Imagine if it was a real child. How would that child feel? What would happen, right? And you can see where illness comes from then. It's like, wow, I haven't been listening to this at all. And now it's getting my attention by turning into fibromyalgia, right? Or whatever condition can arise. So anyway, I want to move on because I keep forgetting I have a short amount of time. So that's intention one. The other two are very simple, right? First one, non-harming. Basically, how can I meet this moment to cause the least amount of suffering? That's the intention. You don't need to follow all these rules and commandments. You just need to have that one thought in your mind. How can I meet this moment to cause the least amount of harm, the least amount of suffering for myself and everyone around me? Right? So just having that mindfulness with the intention behind it. So then it's like, all right, I know I'm walking into this meeting and everyone's going to be screaming and it's going to be a complete nightmare, right? You retake that intention. May I go into this stressful, difficult meeting with the intention to be the least aggressive, the least harmful, to cause the least amount of problems, right? May I just be direct and may I listen and be compassionate and try to understand, right? But this is everything. Like, how are you causing harm in the way that you live? And I'm not just talking about like eating animals or something, like eating meat or whatever, but I'm talking more like how you speak. What do you do when you get uncomfortable? Like, do you need a glass of wine every night, right? That's suffering, and that's causing future suffering. One teacher said there's two types of suffering, one that leads to more suffering and one that leads to freedom. And what do I mean by that? Okay, let's say you feel anxious, and every time you feel anxious, you grab a drink, right? That's a type of suffering that will go on forever, right? Because the drink doesn't last, the good feeling doesn't last. The bad feelings come back with guilt and shame, and you feel even worse. Then you need to reach for that drink again to feel better from that. And then the cycle continues. So that form of suffering leads to continuous, endless suffering. Whereas the other type of suffering is, hey, I feel anxious. Let me feel this. And that can feel like sitting in the middle of a fire. It can be very uncomfortable to turn toward our feelings, to turn toward our bodies and actually experience what's happening. But that type of suffering leads to freedom from our suffering. That doesn't keep us on an endless cycle that just gets worse and worse, right? That's leading us in a wholesome direction. So it's very simple. How do I cause the least amount of harm with what I say, how I speak, with the actions that I do, with my livelihood, with the thoughts I choose to indulge in, right? We can't always control our thoughts. We don't always have nice thoughts. It's not a big deal. Everyone has a cuckoo mind that just has no shame and thinks up all kinds of crazy things. It's what we choose to indulge in, what we choose to identify as, what we choose to continue and feed and give ground to. That is what can be harmful. So then on the other end of the spectrum, the third intention is, how do I meet this moment to bring the most ease, to be the most useful, to reduce the most suffering? Because when you start practicing, it's usually all about you. It's like, man, I have this crappy life and it's so hard, and it's very much me. I want to feel better. But as you progress in your practice, and you start sitting with yourself and you start kind of letting go of that self-centered way of being in the world, then you start looking around and you start to recognize, wow, everybody's suffering. And there are a lot of people that are causing unnecessary suffering for themselves and people around them, and they don't even realize it. So it's a whole different world. When you're not filled up with me, you show up for what's right here in front of you, and it's like, wow, and you start to see. I mean, I'm always amazed with the people I talk to, how they even show up for their life. I thought I had struggles, and then I start talking to clients and people in classes and people at work, and it's like, my God, there's so much suffering out there. And then that is what naturally inclines the heart to help. How can I help? How do I make this person feel better? How can I make this person smile? How can I share joy? How can I be that loving, compassionate presence for other people? So it starts with you, but then the picture gets bigger. It's not just, let me find peace and screw everyone else. It's, let me learn to let go of myself so I don't contribute to the suffering in this life. And then let me look around and see how I can be of use. How can I be of assistance? And you don't have to go looking for it. Life just presents you with opportunities all the time, every day. You see someone drop something, right? There's an opportunity to be kind, to be compassionate. How would you feel if you dropped something, right? You'd want someone to pick it up. Or if you were sad on the subway by yourself, to have someone just sit and just say, are you okay, right? And just to acknowledge another human being. You need something, or people who deliver stuff to your house. You want a drink, it's very simple stuff. You're more present and you recognize, hey, that person's just like me. That person's at work. It's hot out. They're probably thirsty. Let me offer them something to drink. Whereas normally, before our practice, we would be like, oh my God, it's so hot. I hate this. I hate going to work. Me. You wouldn't have even seen those people. You wouldn't have even known they existed. So, this practice, it doesn't change your life in one sense, right? You're still a human being. You still have human thoughts and feelings. It's not like you become Jesus or something, You're still a normal human being. You're not special. You're not better than anyone because you're spiritual. You're still the same, but at the same time, the way you relate to your life, the way you experience it, the way you view it is radically transformed. And that transforms the way you live and how you experience everything. So it's a really special practice. And, I don't know if how I teach it, I hope, but I hope that how I present it and teach it stirs something in you, makes you want to practice, wakes up that thing that whatever it is in me that makes me show up and sit every day, that makes me show up and face my life, even when it gets so overwhelming and difficult, to still show up, to be willing to feel, to be willing to experience no matter whatever life has to offer, and to use it to cultivate my mind in the direction of compassion, in the direction of wisdom, like we've been talking about. So I don't want to talk the whole time. So let's just take a few minutes to sit, and I want to teach you guys. This is one of my favorite meditations to teach people, and we're not going to have a lot of time to do it, but you're going to use your hands and you're going to use words, right? So basically, your palms are going to be on your thighs, but you can't see my thighs, so I have to raise my hands. But basically, you're going to do this, right? So it's going to be peace begins with me, right? So peace begins with me. A 6-year-old taught me that once, like a long time ago. But it's great. It's just really helps you focus. So I want you to turn your palms facing up. I want you to close your eyes. And maybe we'll start out with just 3 deep breaths, just so we can kind of arrive and just show up to this moment. Remember, this is it. So let's show up. 3 breaths. Softening the body on those exhales, releasing any unnecessary tension. One more final deep breath. And then let your breathing return to a natural pace. Maybe a little deeper though. Breathe in a little deeper than normal. Let your body come to a place of stillness. Soften your body like ice melting to water. And then, start repeating those words. You're going to say it silently. If you want, you can whisper it to yourself, since we're not all in the class together, or you can just repeat it silently. And remember, you're starting with your pointer and thumb finger together with the word peace. Then moving to the the middle and the thumb begins. Then with the ring, with, and then finally the pinky, me. And then you start over. Peace begins with me. So continue at your own pace, on your own, breathing deep and slow, but just going from finger to finger, word to word. Leave everything else alone, every sound, every thought. Don't worry about any of that. Just keep repeating. If your mind gets distracted or you just lose it for a sec, just come back. But it's very simple to stay because you have the felt sense of the fingers plus the words. So maybe one more minute, just slowly going finger to finger, word to word. And once you get to the pinky, the next time you get to the pinky, just put the palms down, let go of the words, let go of the finger movements, just sit for one more moment. And just noticing, right? Just being the witness, being the awareness. Finding a place of ease right here in the middle of the muddy water. Right? Just like the lotus flower. Allowing our hearts and our minds to blossom, in the middle of our messy life. If we can't be at ease now, then there's literally no other place. So it's either now or never. And it's very simple. Just let yourself go. Let your opinions go. Let your judgments go. Let your expectations go. And just let there be the moment the way it is. And from here, we take a nice deep breath, biggest breath of the day, in through the nose, out the mouth. And when you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes. So it's a really nice practice to start cultivating attention, to cultivate that ability to pay attention moment by moment, right? Because awareness is already here. Awareness is already receiving things as they are. But it's our attention that jumps around. They call it the monkey mind, right? It's like a monkey jumping, from window to window in a house. And that house is our, five senses, right? And the monkey's jumping around to the most exciting one, whatever the loudest sound or the most exciting sight or whatever. So we have to teach our attention to stay. And once we can learn to stay, then we can deeply investigate who we are, what causes suffering, what's true in this life, what laws govern it, how do I want to live it, how do I want to relate to it, what's important in this life, what's important to me, what does my heart want me to do with this life. So there's a lot to it, and I hope, we do have one more session. I know it's not set up on my end for some reason, but we will do one more next Wednesday. And then, I really hope you'll consider joining my Wednesday night classes. It's 7 to 8. I'm about to hop on it now. And it's a small, intimate group, really compassionate space to open up, to get teachings, to meditate, and have accountability. So hopefully you'll join there. I also do privates here in person and on Zoom. So if you're not local, it's not a problem. I can, help you. I can give you some personalized plans and programs that can really help. So I hope to hear from you guys. I hope to see you next time. And please bring questions next time. I think it'll be very helpful to have a little Q&A. I find a lot of the teachings better when I'm answering questions. So just something to think about. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Keep on practicing, and I'll see you next week.